Hi, I'm JP.
And I'm Adam.
I've never seen Lost.
I have.
I'm told that it's good.
I liked it.
I'm told that it made sense.
Sort of.
But we're watching it out of order.
So it definitely won't make sense.
But it might still be good. Since we won't expect it to make sense, we'll still be able to appreciate each episode on its own merits as a one-hour story.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
As opposed to just a fraction of an ongoing, sprawling, and increasingly complex tangle of relationships, personal stories, mysteries, mythologies, experiments, social dynamics, unnatural disasters, unanswered questions, and hot, tropical hookups.
Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Because you lost me a little bit there at the end.
Well, good, because I've been lost since the beginning.
We're lost on Lost.
Ooh, welcome everybody to Lost on Lost. Hey, I'm JP Russell, and I'm joined, as always, by a man who has a resting heart rate of 220, Adam Busher.
I've been trying to drive it down for years. I think my watch is just broken.
That's what you get for owning a Rolex.
Yeah, my Rolex with that built-in heart rate monitor. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, maybe that's the problem. Adam.
My resting heart rate is 3 p.m. Thursday, the 22nd.
3 p.m. Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
Did you know that when John Steinbeck had to rewrite a whole bunch of Mice and Men because one of the early drafts of the novel was actually eaten by his dog?
What?
Yeah, it's serious. Like, I Googled John Steinbeck facts, and that's one that it's actually the first one that came up, and I thought it was really interesting.
Huh.
I had to Google something because I had done a whole bunch of other research for the intro, but my dog ate it. Today we're talking about Every Man for Himself, the 4th episode of Season 3 and the 53rd episode of Lost Overall. Our centric character is a man who totally, absolutely, definitely knows what a pacemaker is, James Sawyer Ford. Every Man for Himself takes place on the 70th and 71st days after the crash of Oceanic Flight 815. Adam!
Yeah.
Do you have a recap?
I do.
I would love to hear it.
It's about bunnies! On the island, James Sawyer Ford and Kate Austin are back in the cages. The question about whether or not to escape is on everyone's mind. Dr. Jack Shepard is spending time with Juliet Burke, and the question of will they, won't they is on at least my mind. Back on the beach, Desmond Hume makes a play to claim the title of professor from Saeed Jarrah, who is criminally absent. And in the before times, Sawyer is in jail. What? JP, all I wrote in my notes is he's got a glove full of Vaseline, so it's every man for himself here on Lost on Lost.
Jesus. Oy.
I don't know if you know that, but the glove full of Vaseline is a thing from of Mice and Men. JP.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
We have a guest.
Yeah, that's me. What?
They've been on the show before, and we're so excited to have him back. Welcome back to the show, Jack Kelly.
Hi. Very excited to be back. I had a great time last time, and I'm even more confused this time, so can't wait.
Good.
Can't wait. At least the other episode, I was like, oh, I know what character this episode's about, because this is my favorite character of what I've seen of Lost. And then this one, I was like, I'm not entirely sure I know which one is Sawyer. I figured it out. I want to make that very clear. I did figure it out. Because I don't...
Well, good.
I realized, but here's the thing is that, like, even, like, as they're starting the episode, and I write TV, so it's like, you know, I'm watching for, like, other things, too, really realizing that they don't really say each other's names a whole bunch.
You are correct.
It's all or nothing. It's either every time a character talks to somebody or not at all.
Yeah. Jack, refresh us your familiarity with Lost.
I've seen a season and a half. I got like halfway. I watched season 1, renting the DVDs from my college dorm, and then we got halfway through season 2. But I think somebody either had checked out or lost like the 4th DVD of the set that you could check out from the dorm. Mm-hmm. And my roommate and I just never continued.
Gotcha.
Well, I can tell you confidently that you can skip episodes and still watch the show. It doesn't matter. Damn serialized television. You don't need it in order.
The thing is, is that I think we might have talked about this on my last episode, is that I very much feel that Lost would have really benefited from like the modern episode orders of like 13 episodes.
Yeah.
I think it would have benefited
Absolutely.
so greatly because they could have taken out all the fucking fluff episodes and they could have truncated the story down because like I just remember our favorite John Locke fucking off in the woods and finding some fucking hatch in the ground and you're like, what are we doing out here? What is happening? But like now, like reflecting back, I'm like, you know what? I cared way more about that hatch than I did anybody else. Whatever the fuck else was happening.
Fans of the show will know that Adam and I have just sort of started to coin any of the spooky shit happening with either John Locke or the hatch. We just repeat it, Jack, in the way that you first said in the show as, John Locke! The hatch! Which might be the greatest quote from our podcast thus
so
far.
good.
So
It's so good. What have you been watching since the last time you've been on, Jack?
Oh
There's
my
been some
God.
new shows on. I know that there's a couple of new things that have been on your mind.
Such a big question. What have you been watching? Once again, TV is my life. My social handles are Jack Loves TV. So the two that have really consumed my brain are everyone's favorite gay pirate show, Our Flag Means Death. Yeah. And then the other show that really consumed my brain, which really fits in well with this one, is Severance.
Yes, there it is.
Oh, it's... JP, you've watched it, yes?
No, he has not.
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
We're going to though. We're gonna, Jack. We've talked about in between seasons of this show doing some sort of non-Lost content as sort of filler and a little bit of a buffer. So Severance is on the list. So when we discuss that, we'll have you on for sure.
Please.
Y'all want to talk about Lost?
Today we're talking about Every Man for Himself, which originally aired on October 25th, 2006. It was written by Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz and directed by Stephen Williams. Adam Kitsis is allegedly now going by Eddie Kitsis. Listen, as a 35-year-old man with a nickname, now is not the time in your life to start going by Eddie. Adam Horowitz has almost the exact same writing credits as Kitsis, and this joke is getting really hard to pull off. And Stephen Williams directed Shadow Zone, My Teacher Ate My Homework, which I assume was the first draft name of Mice and Men. See, we brought it all back to eating.
Full circle.
Homework. Anyways, guys, we start on a beach.
Yep.
Desmond's wavy locks.
Oh man, it's like one of the first times we've seen Desmond not sweaty and dirty.
Yeah,
just kinda
gotta
chilling.
say, not a fan. I kind of like the sweaty, dirty Desmond.
He looks a little. He's like a little too pretty for the beach now, without the sweat and the dirt.
Right, there's a lot of good-looking cast members on this show, and
Yeah.
Desmond just kind of gets lost in the sauce somewhere between like Saeed and Jin. So,
Yeah.
like, you know,
I'm gonna respectfully disagree with both of you.
You don't find Henry Ian Cusick attractive?
He's yes, but like he doesn't need to be sweaty to be attractive.
Oh, okay. Oh, that. Okay, you're
Cool.
disagreeing on that part.
He's-
Gotcha.
sure. Okay,
He's fine.
Okay.
Like, well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
but yeah, he's just kind of looking off. He's sitting on the beach, probably thinking about Charlie dying again, and he's kind of staring off at Claire.
Yeah, just eyeballing Claire and the baby.
Being real fucking weird about a roof.
Real weird.
Yeah.
Just wanders over. Hey, I was just looking at your roof. You really could use some repairs. Why don't you leave for a while and I'll fix it?
Yeah, listen, as a homeowner, I've had plenty of unsolicited people come up and be like, your gutters need to be repaired. And I'm always like, fuck off. Go. There's a no soliciting sign on the porch. Go away.
Charlie wanders over to the tent and he's like, no, the roof's fine, bro. See you later. And Desmond, he doesn't push it, whatever he was trying to get it to happen. He's like, all right, check you later.
Right. He's clearly trying to get Claire to leave her tent for whatever reason. Charlie's like, if something's got to be fixed around here, I'll fix it. I was building a church until Mr. Echo exploded, which
Oh yeah,
we saw Mr. Echo's death, and he definitely didn't explode.
Yeah. So apparently in the beginning of season 3, a bunch of wild shit happens to Echo, of which dying is not the wildest of it. Apparently he also exploded.
Right.
From there, we cut over to what we know here on the podcast as Hydra Island.
Yes.
Jack's just watching some cartoons, just relaxing.
Oh, I'm gonna put Quantum Leap on that shit.
Juliet brings in a plate of food. You know, it's they have this little conversation, sort of like Jack. I don't know how long they've been in captivity at this point. It's been a few days, I guess.
Yeah, this takes place like right after the whole like flooding chamber incident. Like,
yeah,
probably a couple of days after.
Yeah, and so Jack's starting to get to the point. He's like he's starting to find his play a little bit. Like, you know, we as the middle section survivors have been on the other end of this stick. Now Jack's like, I'm gonna try to sow a little discord. Like, oh, maybe I should be speaking to Ben. It seems like he's the one in charge. Who are you? You're just the food waitress person. So it's not, I don't know. I didn't hate this scene.
It's fine. I mean, Ben Burson, very much like in the middle of their conversation is trying to get Juliet's attention.
Mm-hmm. He says a kind of cool thing. Ben Burson says the sub is back. We have a situation. So the others have a sub. Did we know that?
I think it's been made mention of before.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know there's a sub?
No, I literally wrote the sub is back in my notes. I'm like, the fuck are we talking about here?
Sub sandwiches. It's interesting because Ben is so concerned with who knows what information and when that he would even say that in front of Jack,
right?
I mean, great, we have a sub. What are you gonna do? Unless you have a sub, you're not gonna be able to see it. So, like, you know.
So the thing that I couldn't get over with Ben from his initial entrance, because I think the last episode I was on, I think he maybe showed up in like one scene, maybe,
sure.
But like he had the most like mid-aughts hair of anybody. I was like, wow, where are we finding gel on this island?
Right? Yeah, because it's like short crop, spiky, a little bit slicked on the sides. Just like, yeah, it's
And I gotta say, I'm so glad we're not going back to the
we're not doing that anymore.
Really, well, that and also like the like super baggy slacks and like baggy shirt.
Yeah,
I was like
he's got some dad slacks, big time.
it looks comfortable, but it doesn't look cool.
It's not flattering in any way, shape, or form. Like,
I will say it's also so interesting to like be watching this show like almost 20 years later is like, because I was looking at this, I was 16 when this came out, and like, you know, at one point Sawyer says like, oh, I'm 35, and I'm like, I just turned 32 and you look way older than that, and I'm like, it's so wild that it's
I
like,
thought the exact same thing.
and it's like you look like late 40s,
right?
Like,
yeah. Like the perception of age in television. I did when he said 35 later on. I was just like, what? Okay,
right. He'll always be older than me in my mind, no matter what age I'm seeing him portrayed as. Just like Timothy Chalamet will always be a boy to me, like a young lad.
Yeah. From Jack's tank, we cut to the cages.
We get a brief interlude of a bloody body being carried through the jungle.
Yes.
Yeah. That was pretty spooky.
And that's it. Just bloody body and
just being
gurneyed
on
through
a
the jungle.
stretcher. Yeah. Then we cut to the cages. Kate and Sawyer are getting rousted and fetched by Danny. Time to go to work.
He calls his ass Chinatown. Finally, a good nickname.
That was a good, finally. Until I looked at Danny's face, I was like, oh, nice. Okay,
dude.
Yeah.
Sawyer got one, but even a broken clock's right twice a day, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I was personally obsessed with this like feeder machine that they have, like they're fucking monkeys in a cage. Like, oh, just push the button, and like. So here's a whole fucking plan with like, oh, he's gonna stand in there and then I'm gonna hold it, I'm gonna electrocute him, and like, and Kate just being like, aren't you also gonna be electrocuted? Yeah, but like I felt it, and it's gonna be a shock to him, and you're just watching, and you're like, this man is a fucking moron. Now. This man's a fucking moron. Like, I just like, but honestly, that's a big ass button for someone to push for food. It's like,
well, that's because. We'll talk about it when we get to the scene. But there's a point to the button being big, I guess.
Yeah.
But so then we find out a little bit about the earlier cut of the gurney person, because that person gets carried through in between the cages in front of Kate and Sawyer, sort of distracting Danny from, taking them off to the ward camp or whatever. But yeah, she's somebody got shot, whoever it is. We know who it is. It's Colleen.
Right.
So so they drag him through and so like I guess Kate and Sawyer get the day off, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's always, found time is always good. It's like, we don't have to go to work today, so like maybe I can do some of my own things. I could run errands. Oh wait, I'm stuck in a cage.
Or are they? Or are they
not for
actually
long.
stuck in a cage? I have feelings about it. We'll get to it.
Oh my God. We're going to spend 45 minutes on just that 2 minutes of television.
Sawyer believes rescue is imminent because he thinks that the reason that Colleen got, the only people that he's like, what does he say? He's like, they're not in the habit of shooting each other, so it must have been us. He says, it's our team.
Yeah, Kate says, what happened? And Sawyer says, we happened. Mm-hmm. And I actually really like that little exchange and that thought process because, like, yeah, it's a little bit more deductive reasoning than Sawyer we're used to seeing Sawyer doing, but it's like, oh yeah, our team's fucking kicking some ass over there. Like, Sun's out there putting holes in chests,
just airing folk out.
Yeah, making them aerodynamic.
So then this is where Sawyer starts. Oh, we cut to the credits and then we come back.
Yeah,
this is where Sawyer's putting together the escape plan. So the reason this button is so big, Jack, is that these cages are actually intended to house polar bears. So they don't have, so like the button has to be big enough so that the polar bear, I would assume, can hit it with their nose or their paw or something. Okay, so that's why the button's huge.
Okay, but like, why polar bear?
Yes.
Aren't we on a tropical island?
It seems like a very small cage for polar bears then when you put that in perspective. You know what I mean?
Because it's supposed to be more, because they point out that, it's like a little they're trying to figure out if polar bears are smarter, if they can figure out how to press the 3 buttons in the right order to get the food and the fish biscuit in the water. The buttons are supposed to be far apart so that it takes more than one bear to do it. But then, if you have 2 bears in there, like, that's cage is only really barely big enough for Sawyer. So now you have 2 polar bears in there? Mm-hmm. That's pretty buck wild.
Sounds like poor planning on their part.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, so like he's like, I'm going to piss the water on the floor. He's going to stand in the water. I'm going to grab him and hit the button. I'm going to electrocute myself, then him, and I'm going to be fine. And he's going to be unconscious. And then we're going to bail.
And Kate's face the entire time is like, this is stupid.
This is so dumb.
I literally wrote sounds dumb. And then, spoiler alert, when he actually does it, I scratched out sounds. And it just says dumb. It's just dumb. Just like, oh no.
So good.
It's like, listen, does it sound like that plan will work? Yes. The fact that that's where your mind went to as the first option is electrocuting yourself and someone else. Let's maybe still explore some other options.
Yeah. We got time. Let's brainstorm a little. No idea is a bad idea, but like, let's come up with a couple other ones.
No idea is a bad idea, but that one's not great.
But that one will definitely be at the bottom of the list. Another little interesting tidbit that gets dropped here. Kate and Sawyer don't know if Jack is alive. They've been separated for X number of days, so they don't know if Jack's alive, if he's around, where he's at. Like, so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Flashback. Prison.
Yeah. I had a hard time writing notes during the prison flashbacks because of Sawyer's hair.
The top knot?
Yeah. I was so distracted by it.
I wrote down the top knot's kind of working, and then my next note is like, am I just saying that because it's new? You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I don't know. It definitely, whatever.
He was in all the prison scenes, he was really giving like Tennessee Williams, like really like Southern soap opera vibes, and that I couldn't get over. I was like, this is a lot, sir. This is a lot.
I just wrote, I wonder what he's in prison for, probably stealing catalytic converters.
He's boxing with a fellow inmate. Everything's real chummy. He seems like he's doing well in jail, which does not surprise me at all.
No, yeah, he's meant for the correction system.
He makes contact a little bit later on with another inmate named by the name of Costanza, who seems to be in jail for some sort of burglary or fraud or something like that. Stole, what, 10 million, something like that.
Was his name actually Costanza, or was he calling him Costanza because he looks like George Costanza?
That's a great question. And because of the point you made earlier about them never saying people's names.
That's fair. I know that actor is Ian Gomez.
Yeah.
So like my brain was just like, Ian Gomez. Welcome
right.
to the show.
I wasn't sure, and I realized after I had finished my notes and I was looking back over before we started recording that I didn't have a name for him, and I didn't want to have to keep asking Adam what his name was, so I went on Lostpedia. Apparently his name is Munson.
And I think they do say that a little bit later on. Either the warden says it or somebody said, like, somebody does, because I do remember, now that you say that, somebody did say Munson.
They did.
But
and
Jack,
then I
to
was
your
like,
point,
I was like, but that man is Ian Gomez.
Why are you calling him Munson? He is Ian Gomez. Sawyer makes contact with Munson. Like, from the jump, it's obvious he's going to set him up for something. He's setting him up for something. Like, Sawyer heard 10 million, and it was the static thing. He was just like, that was the last thing he heard. 10 million.
His eyes turned to money signs like in a cartoon.
Exactly. We come back to the cages. Ben comes out to talk to Sawyer, ask him a couple questions. How much do you weigh? How tall are you? You know, what's your shoe size? What's your star sign? Blah, 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 blah.
That man is also not 180 pounds.
No fucking way. No.
That man is not 180 pounds.
Maybe pre-island, but like 2 months of starvation, that dude's 160 at the most.
Starvation? Fuck you. They got bottles of Dharma Ranch everywhere.
That's fair. He's on a Dharma Ranch diet. How old are you? 32. Come on now. 35. You're going to lie about your age. Why do 3 years?
Fuck.
How old are you? I'm 22. How old are you? Really? I'm 35.
Like, when he said 32, that was also me going, fuck off. No, you're not. That was a lie. Like, Maury fucking comes out. Like,
if this was on HBO, that would be Ben be like, how old are you? So it'd be like 32. And then Kate from the other cage, fuck off.
I want R-rated Lost so bad.
Oh my god. And this part,
holy
man.
shit.
So this might be the first time we've ever seen Ben physically attack somebody as opposed to mentally attack somebody, but he fucking works Sawyer over. Like, Sawyer tries the plan. Ben steps in the water, grabs him, kicks the button with his bare foot, doesn't go off.
Yeah.
Just kind of looks at him like,
what did you do? And Ben's like, you think this is my first rodeo? I turned the fucking electricity off. You absolute penis. Like,
my favorite thing, like, this was such a cool fight. Fight in quotes, because it wasn't like Sawyer didn't do it, but like I like that Ben took out the collapsible baton and hit him with it before extending it. Like that, I thought that was like kind of cool. Like pow, and then when Sawyer drops, then he snaps it out and just goes to work.
Well, the other thing too is that you know, he goes out there and it's like not only does Sawyer think that this half-ass plan is gonna work, but also like we find out it's like, they have cameras on them. Dude, they were watching you idiot.
Exactly.
Like, they know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Like, the fuck, like, come on, man. You were in a prison. You know that they're watching you all the time. And if people are not actively standing there watching you, they likely have fucking cameras because you're in prison.
Right. It's so interesting because we've seen Henry Gale, we've seen Ben, we've seen lots of iterations of this character, and normally he's a human punching bag.
Yeah,
like he's getting the shit kicked out of him, and we're all like, you know, he's got to be kind of the mega mind, like ultra intellect. He drops Sawyer quickly and proceeds to knock the fuck out of him, and I was just like, oh shit, dude. Ben ain't messing around.
No,
so,
he's
it was a good scene.
It gives him another layer of danger because we all know how dangerous he can be due to his, his intellect and his manipulation skills and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, if you're gonna tussle with him, like the only reason you were able to really, work him over so much during season 2 is probably because he was playing a game.
He's tied up.
If he chose to defend himself, he'd probably do okay.
See, but here's the thing: you all know that.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't know that, and so I'm like, really, this man with the spiky hair is like. Beating the shit out of Sawyer.
You're missing a lot of good Ben being pounded on. Jack.
Yeah.
It is the hair. The hair is misrepresentative of him, I think.
Yeah.
Or is it entirely representative of him?
It's disguise. He's like a chameleon.
He's just missing the puka shell necklace. And the Abercrombie
We've talked
and
about
Fitch.
puka shell necklaces on this fucking show too many times to not have them. Like, we need to wear them while recording and then have guest puka shell necklaces.
The guest puka. Yep.
Yeah.
Guest puka.
And if you open your swag box, you'll find your guest puka.
Obviously Sawyer gets knocked out. When he wakes up, he's inside. You hear Tom and Ben and Pickett chatting about whatever. Tom says something like, it's been 2 days since the sky turned purple and comms are down.
Yeah. What the fuck?
That's another thing we're missing. We don't know that, Jack. Like, I see your face and you're like, what? But
honestly,
we don't have an answer there either.
That's also my face. That's the first I'm hearing of the sky turning purple. Like, what?
Yeah. Like, oh, that was a line in the show?
Yeah.
Actually, somebody else did, because I made a purple haze joke that got cut out of an episode. So, whatever.
I personally, as the one who has seen the show, I do know what they're talking about. So it's not like this is some sort of nonsense. This is a thing. I mean, it's nonsense because it is.
This show is nonsense.
It is nonsense that does exist somewhere, and we will get to it at some point.
Okay.
But yeah, Sawyer wakes up. He's been tied to a table. They're gonna get to him with some surgery or something. They got a big needle for him.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some comments about this big needle thing.
Please go on.
So, first of all, they're like, we have this giant ass needle. Mm-hmm. It is a comically large needle. Like,
yes.
Might as well have said Acme on the side of it.
Honest to God, comically large.
It's the one that Steve Martin has in Little Shop of Horrors when the camera's inside the giant mouth, you know?
Yes. And then these two fucking morons are arguing over, like, where to shove it in. And they're like, oh no, you have to go through the sternum. I'm like, so you're just gonna break this comically large needle? Like, what makes you think that you are going to jab that fucking needle through one of the strongest bones in the body? Like, the sternum is so strong that, like, to check to see if someone is alive, you rub on the sternum. You really think that you are going to take a needle and jab it through it's like, no, actually what you'd want to do is feel the ribs, find a space between the ribs, and that's where you jab it through. But no, we're talking about shoving a damn needle through the sternum. And to me, that was the first hint of, like, something weird's going on, because that's also a bullshit plan.
Where the Band-Aid ends up later isn't
not
near the sternum.
It's not the sternum. Oh my God.
Right, and Jack, you're precisely right. The space in between the ribs, the intercostal spaces, you can just put your finger there, use it as a guide, and then push. Like, it's very simple. Anyways, they stab him.
Yeah, and while this is happening, we get a quick cut over to Jack over in the tank. The intercom crackles, and he can hear what's happening to Sawyer in the other room. He doesn't necessarily know what's happening, but he can hear it. And, you know, this is another one of those little mind game plays that they're making the others against the survivors.
He's like, pipe down, I'm trying to watch cartoons over here.
Or as a lot of people these days would call, an escape room.
Yeah, we do this for fun now in the future because everything's fucked.
We pay people to have us to psychologically torture us.
Speaking of psychological torture, we cut to the beach.
Dude,
I cannot look at Paolo at all without feeling like this sort of intense, weird hatred.
Well, I lost my mind because I thought I was taking a note when they initially, the first shot on the beach, I thought he was hitting the golf balls into the water, not like the fruit or whatever.
Yeah.
I lost my fucking mind. I'm like, what are you doing? Other people might want to play golf. Turns out it was just fruit.
JP, you were not alone in that thought. I missed that it was fruit as well. And so I was like, are you going to be going in the water to get those things?
Right?
I wouldn't want to do that. You know the ocean steals things. The ocean has taken 3 pairs of sunglasses from me. Like, it is unforgiving. So I'm like, really? You're hitting the golf balls into the water?
Jack, you've lost so much, and I appreciate your bravery in talking about the ruthlessness of the sea.
Okay, I will say it also had my favorite exchange in the entire episode, which was I guess Paolo, once again a character. They don't say his name in the episode. He says
so
to Desmond,
useless.
you play golf? And Desmond just says, I'm Scottish. I'm like, that's the correct answer, sir.
I'm Scottish. Cheers.
You're like, amazing.
Yeah. Really
That's
good.
correct. That is absolutely correct.
This is a really interesting thing because like the whole thing about the scene is just charm versus the complete opposite of charm.
Oh my god. Yeah, he borrows a 5-iron. That's it.
Yep. Such a dick thing to say. Take the 5-iron. I never use it. That way, if whatever you're using it for takes you out into the jungle and you die with it, I don't need to come looking for it. Fucking fuck all the way off, Paulo.
Well, I mean,
fucking douchebag.
As long as you have a pitching wedge, you're fine. But whatever.
Such a dick, though. Even if that's your thought, keep it to yourself. Like, fuck.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
it's a TV show. We need
the script has to be 52 pages long to fill the 43-minute runtime, so we gotta have
and we need 22
Also-
episodes.
We don't know why we have Nikki and Paulo in this show. We just need to put them in scenes and hope that something fucking works out.
Love having a big cast and being like, okay, we have to pay these people to be in these episodes.
No,
we have to give them some dialogue.
We're already paying them. Let's try to get our money's worth out of it.
There you go. There you go.
Jesus.
God, yeah. Okay. Cut back to Sawyer. He's recovering from, I'm assuming being javelined to the chest with a comically huge needle. Ben comes in with the number 8 bunny in the cage.
Oh man. Okay.
Just starts hassling the bunny, man.
I hated this scene.
This was really,
yeah.
really. I don't know if it was what the feeling was of anxiety or tension or whatever, but like he was shaking it, but I was like, stop, don't quit, knock it off.
I mean, there's a point in the episode where or in the scene where he says, like, we're not killers. I'm like, you
killed the bunny.
Yeah.
You just shook
killed the bunny.
You just shook a bunny to death.
Shook a bunny
like,
to death.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so the whole reveal is that they put this pacemaker in Sawyer. Okay, Jesus Christ, like that's a major surgery. That's not a little incision or a needle situation. I don't know. But they're like, okay, so you got this pacemaker. Once your heart rate gets above whatever, it'll stop your heart. Okay, cool. As soon as he shook the cage enough and apparently got the rabbit's heart rate up, first of all, I just wanted Sawyer to go, okay. But also, like, pacemaker be damned. I feel like a rabbit would just die if you did that to it anyways. Bad example.
Right? That's
you know?
horrifying. Like, yeah.
I just, I have just so many thoughts about the pacemaker. And like, as somebody that has actually seen pacemakers or like seen things that have been like surgically inserted, it's like you'd be able to tell that you had a pacemaker,
Right,
like
you'd feel a foreign object within your body, right?
Yeah, well, it's like, and the thing is that like the simplest one that like you'd be able to, I need to also preface by saying I am not a medical expert at all, but I have seen.
Too bad, because you're now our pacemaker correspondent, Jack.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that my theater degree is coming in handy. But like the thing is that like I know that there are pacemakers that they like really like insert, but then there's also there's also ones that are more surface level.
Okay.
Yes.
That like. Yeah, and I've seen those.
Kind of like see him protruding like under the skin a little bit. Like
Sawyer, if it was an actual pacemaker, you'd be able to feel it, buddy.
Right.
Also,
that's a major surgery. Like you would have more than like a little band-aid, you know?
Oh my God.
I think the big takeaway once we get to the end of this is sort of the difference. Well, maybe not the big takeaway, but a takeaway is that Sawyer is very, very smart when it comes to certain things, and in certain arenas he is smarter than people give him credit for.
Sure.
And then that's juxtaposed with the things that he knows fucking nothing about.
Well, it's like he's got an 18 in wisdom and a 6 in intelligence. Like, like there's not much going on, but like he knows the street. Just don't ask him about pacemakers.
Jack, that's a wonderful way to put that. Thank you.
I just like the whole fucking, and then we're gonna talk about it more because it fucking comes up again. But like we inserted a pacemaker was like, I was like, oh,
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Second or third most unbelievable fucking thing that's happened in this episode. Who's lying here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The long and short of it is they're like, if you tell Kate, we'll put one in her too.
Yeah.
So
this is designed to keep you calm. Don't tell Kate. Don't tell anybody. Don't try to escape. If you do, you'll die. She'll die. Everybody will die. So we cut to back out to the cages where Kate is waiting. Sawyer is returned. And yeah, he plays, he believes him. So he doesn't tell her what happened. He's just like, no, they just asked me a couple questions, whatever. Mm-hmm. Everything's fine. Everything's chill. And she's like,
clearly it's not. Like, I know you're lying to me. Like,
right. Tom brings her out some clothes so she can change out of Alex's dress.
I was going to say, when she changes out, do you think Alex is in the woods going, can I have my dress back?
Can I get my dress back, please? Alex is a 16, Jack, based on your look, Alex is a 16-year-old girl who lives on the island.
Great.
And Kate, that dress that Kate was wearing belonged to her at one point.
Fantastic.
And she runs around the woods asking about it.
Constantly. It's the only thing she's worried about. So Tom gives her some clothes. Says, hey, he's doing good cop. If anything doesn't fit, just let me know. It's like, oh yeah, I'll call you, Tom. What? Fuck, I'm in.
Yeah, okay. Let me just...
What are you, my fitting room attendant? Like, what's happening here?
Can I get this in a 3?
If it doesn't fit, what do I call you? Like...
So she starts turn around. Sawyer turns around. We get a shot of her from behind with her top off. Sawyer's heart rate starts to spike because, oh god, even despite the fact that he's just apparently been through quote unquote major surgery, he's still horny for that shit. So his heart rate starts to spike.
Sorry, but it only goes off if it gets within 15
of 140, so it starts at 125. Like,
just sitting there seeing the back of a topless woman got him up to 125 heart rate.
Have you ever just been exhausted? Like,
have you ever just felt
like
so?
This, like as soon as she was like, oh, can you turn around? I was like, we're doing this? It's just like such an exhausting trope. Like, I was just like, and like, I know part of me is like, also like, this was also 20 years ago, and this was like, but it's just like, it was just like, straight man has sexual feeling, gets his heart rate up. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like,
it was.
I was like, this is stupid.
It's hokey. It's hokey at this point. Like, yeah, like, it's goofy, and like, this is literally like the only joke in this whole episode, and it's not a good joke.
No.
But like he gets so wound up that he pours the bucket of water over his head, like fucking Yosemite Sam, and it's like, okay.
Well, and it was also just like such like they also just did, like the shot, they had to actually include the shot of like, back of Kate topless. And it's like, we didn't need this. No. And if this was an HBO show, it would have been full on tits out. Like, she would have been full on naked. And like, that's what we would have gotten.
She would have said, turn around. And then she would have continued to face him so the audience could see her tits. Exactly.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. Like, it's just. Like I said, are you ever just exhausted? Like, just.
Cut to a flashback. Back to prison.
Prison.
A woman that Sawyer has previously conned comes to visit him. Before she shows up, we see Ian Gomez speaking with his.
Yeah, we see Munson
the
arguing
prediction
with his,
that Sawyer had laid on him earlier about him getting played by the whoever,
right, by the warden.
It seems like it's going to be. Yeah, it seems like it's probably come true. But so this woman comes up. What are you doing here? Whatever. She reveals to him that during the process of the con, Sawyer must have gotten her pregnant, and Sawyer has a daughter named Clementine, and she lives with her mother in Albuquerque.
Right. Immediately, I'm thinking that this is like a reverse con. You know what I mean? Like Sawyer has money stashed away someplace, and she's like, we really could use that money or something like that. Yeah. But Sawyer's immediately just like super, super defensive, and he's just like, no, I ain't got no daughter. Like, what do you want me to? She's a baby. You want me to write her a letter? Like, that's not my kid. Fuck you. Get out of here.
Right. He bails.
I really love that you immediately jumped to like, oh, she's reverse conning him. Meanwhile, I'm just stuck on like, why is that baby photo so fucking big? Like, why did we print this baby photo on an 8.5 by 11? Like, why?
Why isn't it wallet sized? Wallet sized photos exist and nobody has them.
No. Listen, an 8x10 can be a wallet size if you have a big enough wallet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my lord!
Costanza, back to him.
The Costanza wallet. Oh shit.
Also, Clementine's a terrible name.
But it agreed, and it is exactly the name I would expect a woman that Sawyer had been with to name their daughter.
Right.
When they were like Clementine, I was like, yeah, the Southern Gothic soap opera. I was like, of course the name's Clementine.
It's so much of like a nickname that it's perfect for Sawyer's kid because then he can't give her a nickname.
Right.
Like her name is a nickname, you know.
Yeah.
Starts calling her Clem.
Clam.
Look,
Clam.
Yikes. That does not roll off the tongue at all.
So my only other question about this scene was like, Sawyer, you are like, you get a lot, like when you're in prison, from what I understand, you're not forced to see people. Like there's a visitor. Like, so Sawyer didn't have to be there to meet this woman. He could, the guard or somebody would have been like, hey, Sawyer, somebody wants to visit you. And he'd be like, I'm not doing that. Nobody needs, I don't know. Maybe he's just bored. Anyway, we cut back to the cages. Kate's again talking about escape. Sawyer says no, as though he can stop her. But whatever. This must have been a pretty brief scene because I have 6 words written about it.
Yeah. Sawyer's trying to play cool, like, we should chill out.
Yeah,
so that
just chill. Lay back. See what happens. Yeah.
Chill out. Don't take your top off again.
Yeah. I'm out of water. Won't be able to cool off. We go to the tank where Jack is at. Jack's got some more noise through the intercom. And then Juliet busts in. She's covered in blood. She's wearing scrubs. Yeah. She needs help with a surgery. Apparently, whatever they're doing with who we know to be Colleen is not going well. Jack is a surgeon, so that I liked this. This was some real cool spooky shit for me. Was the way that they moved Jack from where they were at to the operating theater path. So we cut back to outside, and so they play this really loud noise over the intercom. It starts to freak out Kate and Sawyer, and then you see them moving Jack through this area with a bag over his head. And they can tell that it's Jack because of his horrible tattoos.
Shitty tattoos.
And I say this with all, as much due respect as I can as a person who has 1 or 2 shitty tattoos himself. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, there's Jack. I could tell by the goofy 5 on his left bicep. Jack! And they're shouting. And so the noise from the intercoms is preventing Jack from hearing. They got a bag on his head. Like, it's all real, clandestine.
But, okay, hold on. Good use of the speakers and, sensory deprivation so that, Jack doesn't know where they are or whatever. And, detainee ops, typically in at least a military situation, you do obscure the vision of detainees when you're moving them around so they don't understand the layout of facilities and things like that. However, we paraded him through. We also paraded through Colleen on the stretcher so that your prisoners know that something's up. I don't know. Maybe don't have your prisoners in the main thoroughfare of where you gotta get shit to and from. You got other facilities. Lock them up in a room or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but they have these handy dandy polar bear cages
that are so fucking useful, and we're gonna get into that in a goddamn second.
Man, because I have seen way less of this show than both of you. My whole feeling was as I was watching these scenes happen, I was like, okay, if you've got medical equipment and hospital equipment, shouldn't there be more civilization around here? If you've got a whole fucking ass hospital, why would this be so remote? And yet there's I don't know, nobody lives around here. Why would you build a hospital where there's nobody that fucking lives there? Why would you do this? This is silly. And Adam keeps nodding because he's just yes, this comes up in season 5. I don't know, just watching the one-off episode, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why? How do you have all of this equipment?
Yeah, no, exactly.
How do you have all this equipment? And theoretically, it's
There's an answer somewhere else. Right. Yeah, exactly.
it's just
Right.
it feels very
I've-
silly at a certain level.
As the party that's watching this out of order for the first time, Jack, I'm right there with you. Like, there's so much of the others and the Dharma Initiative that is tantalizing to think about, but the further we get into this, the more I'm resigned to not ever getting answers to that line of questioning.
And I think that season 3 has a bigger problem with this than some of the other episodes, just because of the amount of hypothetically episodes the audience has supposed to have seen at this point, stuff like that.
Sure.
They're also in this season 3 problem of not knowing when they're going to end, and not, they've got writing problems they're dealing with, not just like trying to get good stuff on the page, but in the room.
I mean, that is a problem.
Well. But yeah, those are all 100% adequate questions for like whether or not this episode is good or stands alone or whatever. So, so Jack gets to the operating theater, moves past some X-rays. He starts eyeballing them. Juliet's like, those aren't the patients or whatever. They get into the operating theater. Jack gets to work. Juliet reveals she's not a surgeon. So Jack, he's like, he realizes he's got more cleanup to do than he probably realized. But it's all for naught. Colleen flatlines. Jack goes to compressions, and it doesn't play, and Colleen dies on the table.
I really liked this scene.
Yeah,
I really liked it too. Yeah, super good.
To me, it was like it really showed the grim reality of having to do medical procedures in a situation like on the island, like where it's like they scrubbed up, like all they could do was just wash their hands.
Wash your hands,
like,
yeah.
And it's like, do you have the paddles? It's like they're broken. And it's like, like that's the fucking reality of it. Instead of just like, oh no, we've got another set here. Like,
right. Well, and to like piggyback off of that, like, we see Jack just like magically kind of be good at a lot of things all the time. He's just suddenly good at all this stuff. Actually seeing him like be a surgeon, this is what his character was intended for. And I finally believe, like, yes, he's good at this. He's in his element. Like when he goes to call the time of death, it's like second nature. Like, yeah, I lose patience sometime. And he looks and there's no clock and he's like, whatever, time of death, whatever the fuck,
she's gone.
It was a well executed scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he was very much like you could definitely tell that it's like he's not used to operating in a theater like this.
Yeah.
Like he's very used to like traditional hospital. He's got all the equipment. He's got all the help. He's got like it's like, oh, if the paddles broke, oh, they have a backup.
There's
like,
more paddles.
There's more paddles. We can go get them like right now. Like, but it's like I actually really, really like that it was like, no, this would be the reality of trying to do this in a space where you don't have all of those supplies, and he's still in that mindset of like, well, like I can do this obviously, but it's like, but buddy, you can't. You're used to doing this in a fully functional hospital and not on some random ass fucking island.
Right.
And I think too is that like the audience also thinks like, oh, he can do this because we're also so used to seeing like, oh, the doctor character's going to come in and save the day.
Right, yeah.
And because he knows this is his background, and then he goes in and does it, and he fails. Yeah. And it's really kind of nice to see.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I love it. It's
more realistic than what you would have come to expect from the show, from the character. Like he comes in and nailed it, couple stitches, she'll be fine, back on her feet in a couple of days. Like, no,
you want me to put a pacemaker in her while I'm in here?
Fuck. Like,
but Juliet says a thing during that while they're trying to get. He's like, I need paddles, I need crash cards. She says they're broken, and then she said one of the things that she threw in there was she's like, we're not used to dealing with this stuff, which goes to the thing that Sawyer said earlier. It was like, I don't think they're used to shooting each other. It's like they're dealing with a gunshot wound, something that hypothetically on this other's utopian island existence, they were not having gun battles with hostile other parties. Like they're just hanging out, doing their Dharma shit.
Maybe they don't shoot to wound; they just shoot to kill.
Oh yeah, there's that too. So Pickett and Tom and some other folks are observing the surgery, and so Pickett loses it. So he heads outside to work Sawyer over a little bit, and this is pretty brutal. Like he gets in there and it's just like starts pounding on him, and
Sawyer can't fight back because he's trying to keep his heart rate down.
Right. And so, like, Pickett brings him out of the cage over to Kate's cage and starts beating on him in front of her and just, like, screaming at her, do you love him? Do you love him? Do you love him? Which I thought was a little odd.
Yeah.
He's traumatized and dealing with some shit, so like I'm not gonna hold Danny to too high of a standard here.
My eyes were definitely rolling.
Yeah. She eventually says yes, and I wrote like that feels like a trauma response. Like
right. Yeah.
she's just trying
like,
to get this to stop.
Yep. I said the same exact thing. I was like, yeah, she's saying that so he'll stop. She doesn't mean that.
Exactly. I was like, she don't mean this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
from there, we cut to the flashback. Costanza,
Prison.
Ian Gomez, also called at one point by Sawyer Murgatroyd, which just made me think of the college football names sketch from Key and Peele. But he's like, yeah, I'm getting conned, man. You called it. The wife and the warden are in on it together. They're trying to take my money. You gotta help me, man. Sawyer's like, I can't, man. Like I'm a target, blah blah blah. But like then he finally's like, all right, I'll do it. And as he's walking away,
if you don't help me, the warden wins. So like, don't do it for me. Do it to
burn
stick
the warden.
one to the warden. Yeah.
And so as he's walking away, we get a Sawyer grin to himself. It's like, okay, Sawyer got him. Yep.
my other note for this scene was, we just letting prisoners just like walk around prison now.
Just hang out. Yeah.
Just-
Also, before we move on, Sawyer was reading Of Mice and Men in that scene.
Yes, that's
which
true.
will come up in a hot minute.
From the flashback, we come back to the cages. Sawyer's recovering. Kate's like, look, it's time to go. Like, you've been beat up. Jack's over there. Like, everything's weird. I'm pretty sure I can get out of these cages. Let me check this out. And she just, like, scales the wall and climbs out of the ceiling.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Yes, let's talk about this.
It's like, oh my God, I got so fucking mad when she did this. Okay, for one, it's the whole like, oh, we've got the handcuffs on. Oh, how are we going to get out of here?
You could have got out of those at any time?
Exactly. It was that.
Only when it was funny.
It was that whole fucking thing. And also, I was like, this woman is flat as a fucking board. Of course she could escape out of these fucking bars. Like, she turns sideways and disappears. Like...
She's two-dimensional in more than one way.
As someone who has never been like that ever, I get mad about that because I'm like, this is bullshit. This is some fucking bullshit.
It's also like,
I'll never be able to get out of a cage like that because I got that ass.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
and it's not like, listen, I understand this is a network television show, but if there were just straight bars up, right, no crossbars, and she had to crawl and then use like all of her upper body strength and like barely squeeze through, and it was like this whole like, I can barely get through this thing, but I got like a millimeters to spare. But no, shit, like it's a fucking, you know when you go to like the fall carnivals and you just climb up the bales of hay and it's like, oh, it's an obstacle course. You're just like climbing up something that's 3 feet tall. That's what she does until she just goes, oh, look, I can just stand up and go through these fucking bars. Like, it makes no sense.
I was just like, and we didn't think to do this from the beginning? Like, you let Sawyer try and hatch this stupid, dumbass electrocution idea when you yourself could have gotten out of the fucking cage and gone looking for help or, like, figure out a way to get him out? Like, are you kidding me here? Like, in that moment, like, throughout the whole episode, this is really the twist of the episode. The whole thing, you think that Sawyer is the dumbass, but really, Kate's the stupid one.
Kate's the stupid one.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Because she listened to his plan earlier about the puddle and the electrocution. She wasn't like, do you see how big the hole in the ceiling is?
Unbelievable. Like, this is like those sitcom situations of like, well, if they just would have had a conversation. I mean, like, if they just would have been like, okay, what do you see in yours? I think I could actually escape through here.
And again, I think this is because this is prior to escape rooms becoming people's hobbies. Like they're not trained to look around and see what they have. Like, yeah, it's like, okay, like just if you see something, say it's like, okay, the bars here at the lower section are pretty thin, but up near the top they're a little bit wider. You know,
Adam, I don't think it's escape rooms that have trained people to ask those questions. I think it is common fucking sense for people to just look around their fucking environment and being like, okay, how can I get out of this? Like, I mean, that's how I look at like when I'm stuck going to like baby showers. I'm like, okay, how can I get out of this? Like, Like, I'm looking for my out. What's my gap in the ceiling? Like,
man.
like, come on. It's
fair.
just,
That's totally fair.
just the dumbest thing. I was like, and then she goes back in. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you? Run, bitch! Like, get out of there.
And the best part about this is, Jack, is that you haven't seen this, but this happens in more than one episode.
No.
Yep.
Are you fucking kidding me?
They're in the cages for like the
God.
first 6 episodes of season 3, and yeah, they use the wide bars at the top on more than one occasion.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, and what's Alex's boyfriend's name? He does it too. He just like climbs out. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, I feel like I need to remind us again. They have cameras on these cages. They watch this bitch climb out of the cage, and they're not like coming in there and just like fucking putting something on the top. Like, you know, it's like you find out that like, oh, my hamsters figured out a way to escape their cage. I'm going to put a little piece of cardboard or paper, and suddenly that's not going to happen anymore. No, instead, they're watching this bitch climb out of the fucking cage, go check on Sawyer, try to break the lock open with a fucking rock, and then she puts herself back in like a fucking dumbass. Like, I mean, maybe they realize they don't have to put the thing on
because she wants to stay.
Because she wants to fucking stay. Once again, like an idiot. And I don't think she's, at this point, it's like, oh, the twist is she's the dumb one. Got it.
Right.
Jack, just so you know, I have scribbled a note here on a post-it note that says baby shower escape room theme and then equals $. So
It's true.
we're gonna have to talk after the podcast about our new business venture.
Sounds great.
It's an escape room, but it's just social situations.
It's amazing. Kate climbs back and Sawyer tries to get her bail. Like, leave, let go, you're out. I have to, like, I'm staying here, I can't tell you why I'm staying here, but like, go, every man for himself. And then she goes, like, said
he said the thing.
He said the thing, and then she climbs in the cage and she says, live together, die alone, which is the thing from another episode.
Jack said,
Jack said it, so.
Well, okay, here's the other thing. She also says to him, like, when he's like, but you said you love me, and she's like, I only said that so they'd stop hitting you. Like, it was a very cold thing to say to him. But also, like, if that's true, once again, if you don't actually love this man,
why don't you leave?
Why don't you leave?
Yeah.
I am just flummoxed by her choices.
It's bonkers. Remember just a couple minutes ago when we said they were always watching? So we cut to Ben sitting in front of a bunch of security monitors watching them.
Always watching.
It really puts everything, like, because you're watching and you're like, oh, this is so crazy. Like, oh, they did the thing. And then they see it. It's like, oh,
come on.
It puts everything into context. And you're like, oh, this is.
Well, and once we get to the end of it, too, we kind of realize why they're not necessarily that worried about him getting home, but we'll talk about that.
Right.
Julia comes in to talk with Ben, and he's like, should we take Jack back? And he's like, I want him to sit with her for a little while. And we see Jack still sitting in the operating theater with Colleen's dead body.
Again, another great Jack and Juliet scene. I really like this scene a lot.
Yeah, this is a good scene.
Yeah. They're in there. Juliet goes to talk to him. Jack has figured out the tumor thing about the x-rays. He's like, that's a give or take 40-year-old man with a really bad tumor in his spine.
And gee whiz, I'm a spinal surgeon. Yeah. You can tell that Juliet's pretty shook up. Like,
yeah.
It seems really genuine. And Jack says something, don't even worry about it. She's dead before you even put her on the table. And she's like, are you just saying that to make me feel better? And he's like, I don't care about making you feel better. Which, if that's true, I mean, that's a good response to that. And if he does care about how she feels, like, it is a really good double down.
Yeah.
If he is just saying that, like, I don't know. I don't know if he means it or not. Either way, it's like a checkmate. Like, she has to believe him at that point.
Yep. He's playing a little bit of his own mental game, which I liked.
Yeah. Really good.
We find out here that Juliet's a fertility doctor. That's when she said she's not a surgeon, she's a fertility doctor. So
yeah, she's. I'm not used to seeing death. I mean, like, you're a fertility doctor.
You're a fertility doctor in America. We have for a foreign advanced nation, we have one of the highest child mortality rates. Like, it's actually kind of fucking bonkers.
Girl, you've seen death.
Yeah.
But I did really like Jack's question of like, so who am I here to save? And you're like, oh shit, this was a test run. It's like, oh man.
Let's get down to brass tacks. How much for the ape?
It was good.
So good.
It was good.
Do you remember that part of Lost takes place on a beach? We cut back to the beach.
I have so much to say about the scene, and very little of it has to do with the scene.
Desmond builds a lightning rod out of bamboo and a 5-iron and a bunch of wire, and he sets it up, and he just like sits and watches it. Hurley's making a fruit salad. He's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, you're just chilling. You want some fruit salad?" "No, I'm good." He's like, "All right, well, I'll catch you later." And Hurley goes out to walk away. He's like, "Oh, you might want to wait a second." And it starts to rain, and then lightning hits the lightning rod. Sparing, one would assume, Claire and Charlie and Aaron's lives.
Yeah. Okay, we get it. Desmond's, he sees stuff. I'm just gonna go on record saying this. I am going to be very upset at the end of this show if we don't have a fun, wacky Desmond episode where he's just going around stopping people from like minor inconveniences. You know what I mean? Like, it's just from scene to scene. Like, somebody drops something and he knows they're going to drop it on the beach and lose it, and he like picks it up and gives it to him. We're like, oh, they're going to miss the chair before they sit down, and he scoots it back in. If we don't get a fun Desmond, like, dead zone power episode, I'm going to be fucking furious.
I think you might be angry at this show.
Shut up, Jack!
Because I do think that we are going to have some Desmond sort of dead zone episodes. I don't know if I would describe them as wacky.
I want wacky, though.
Because that's the thing. Desmond's power lends itself to wackiness, and then they don't use it for it. So,
Anyways, Claire's still alive, I guess.
I guess.
This is part of that whole thing that, Desmond knows that Charlie's going to die, and so he's trying to save his life. And so, whatever.
Okay, whatever.
Cool. Turns out he wasn't trying to save Claire and Aaron at the beginning of the episode. He's trying to prevent Charlie from getting struck by lightning. I don't know if the chronological audience knows that yet or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Wait, would that mean if Charlie wasn't going to be there at that time and Claire was going to get struck by lightning that he wasn't going to give a fuck?
Maybe. We cut back to the cages. Ben comes to get Sawyer, and then we immediately cut back into flashback. Sawyer is going to talk to the warden. Sawyer flipped on Costanza. He tells the warden and the Treasury Department, the most badass of all the federal institutions, where the cash is in a red Bronco in a storage unit off of 441, like waves crashing on the beach. He gets his sentence commuted, and apparently there's a slice in it for him. He gives the reward he wants to put in a bank account for Clementine. He says, it doesn't matter which bank, just put it in Albuquerque. There's a little girl named Clementine Phillips. Give the money to her and make sure she never finds out that it came from me.
She cannot find out that it was from me. And the warden's like, cool, you're a free man.
All good. Thanks for stopping by, Sawyer. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And then we come back to the island. Ben and Sawyer are off on a little hike with a couple of armed guards.
Listen, I'm so out of shape. I'm surprised the thing didn't, like, mine would be going off walking downhill. He gets pretty far up that bluff before his
before he
heart
hits
rate monitor starts
125.
going
That's not
off.
bad. That's not bad at all. Yeah, he's got some good cardio. So,
Cardeo.
Like, dude,
I don't speak Spanish.
He's just like, dude, we can't go up this hill. I'm gonna die. Like, you're gonna blow up my heart. He's like, dude, we didn't put a fucking pacemaker in your heart. Like, how dumb are you? Come on.
So dumb.
He's like, the watch is a heart monitor, but there's no pacemaker.
He's quoting of Mice and Men because it looks very much like, we're gonna take you up here and just shoot you. You know, it's got very like, we're just gonna execute you vibe because we're sick of dealing with you.
He gives him he gives him the line, and this is what don't you read? It's from Mice and Men.
Well, and then you find out that, like, I don't know if you find out in this episode or if it's, or I found out that they're on a separate fucking island.
This is the first reveal of the second island.
Like, they're on a whole ass other island?
Yeah.
what the shit?
Yep. It's a second smaller island just off the coast of the island. We find out later the name of it is Hydra Island, or that's what at least what the Dharma Initiative called it. It's some sort of really smallish island, just relatively nearby. They can get to and from it with apparently some sort of submarine, or maybe we do see eventually when Kate and Sawyer return to the big island, they use like an outrigger canoe to get across. So it's
once again, why would we build the hospital on the smaller island?
Well, and that's the thing, is that they're not the Hydra station, and we don't find this out till I think way later in season 3. The Hydra station is not a hospital; it's like an animal research station. Just happens to have some medical facilities and stuff like that. And it's that, but that is a question. It's like, because this is early season 3, we don't find this out till way later. So at the beginning of season 3, the audience is like, why is all this cool shit over here nowhere near any people or the barracks or anything? Like, why is it out here? So the question's 100% valid. So that's the big reveal. They're on a separate island. Ben, and then Ben hits him back with of Mice and Men quote. If a man doesn't have somebody, he just goes crazy. He just gets sick. All that stuff.
JP, do you have thoughts about this? Because I have thoughts about this.
I read of Mice and Men in high school. Like, as soon as Sawyer started quoting it, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a Mice and Men. The shit that Ben was saying, I'm like, I'm getting contextually that's probably also from Of Mice and Men, but not at all. If I would have heard that line outside of the context of the show where we're already talking about American literature, I would have no idea what fucking book that was from.
Okay, so my issues with it. One, the initial reference to the very first reference to Of Mice and Men I think we get in the episode is Sawyer reading it in prison.
Correct. Yep.
For Ben's quote at the end to really be poignant, Sawyer should have been reading the book in Act 1 or Act 2. Instead, they have him reading it in like Act 4. To me, that's too late of a reference to have a callback.
Sure.
You gotta plant that fucking seed earlier in the episode if you're gonna have, the villain character relaying quotes back to you. You gotta plant that seed earlier. That's really a writer's note for the episode.
Don't have him boxing. Have him working in the library.
Sure.
Yeah. Or like, he's done boxing, he gets back and he's got like a bloody nose and he like bleeds on his copy of Mice and Men. Like,
sure.
Like that could have been really, and it's just like, oh shit, it's like the only book I have in him like trying to like clean it off.
Yeah.
Because I think it could have been done a lot better.
Sure.
I agree with you on I'm not super familiar with Of Mice and Men. So I would never have picked out that quote. Been like, yes, classic American literature.
John Steinbeck.
But like,
it's a good book.
I've seen it. I've seen a production of Mice and Men. It's been probably since this show fucking came out. So like, it's been a minute. But like, it's a more obscure quote. I feel. And 2, I just really hate it when somehow everyone fucking memorizes long passages of the great classics to just say whenever. Yeah. It's like, nobody does that.
Pepper that into conversation.
Or has like the perfect quote to say in the situation. Nobody does that. No. Get out of here with that nonsense. Exactly. And it's the same book that Sawyer was reading in prison. It is such a pet peeve of mine in media that they pull that shit and be like, you are on a fucking island. I think the last thing that you need to be storing in your brain for knowledge is Of Mice and Men quotes. Honestly, don't think it's going to help you very much surviving on a fucking island. Yeah. Like, I actually, once he started talking, I was like, this is so stilted. And it's like, and it was like in the, like the slight, Southern dialect that Sawyer speaks in, and I'm like, okay, so are you trying to like mimic
Mock
Sawyer?
him,
Like, are you trying to like make
yeah.
fun of him in this moment? Are you trying to do this? And then he's like, it's of mice and men, and I was like, I fucking hate this show. Like, just like I fucking hate this. Like, this is stupid, and I hate this. Like, because it sounded very foreign coming out of his mouth because it is in the dialect of the book, and it was I just hated it so much. Like the whole last moment, like the whole second island reveal, I was like, that's incredible. And they pulled this of mice and men bullshit. I was like,
And you ruined it.
well, sometimes we don't entirely stick the landing. Sometimes we get a foot out and then we got to drag it back. I was like, I can't. And I literally wrote, well, Sawyer's reaction, like his reaction, I think was great. I'm just like looking at him like, the fuck are you saying, sir? And I literally wrote, Sawyer's reaction is all of us. And then my very last thing I wrote, who the fuck remembers entire passages of a book to quote?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, get out of here, sir. The most unbelievable thing of the whole episode of memorizing such a long, and it was a long passage too.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
get out
if
of here.
it had been like a Beastie Boys lyric, like I'd get it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, but you know,
like,
I'm scheming on a thing that's a mirage, okay? We have a second island. No problem.
yeah. Intergalactic planetary.
nice
Great.
pull. Yeah.
Nailed it. But like,
What if you would have said that to her? So the only reason you told me you put a pacemaker in me is just to try and get me to stop escaping and try and get me to behave. Intergalactic planetary, Sawyer. Lost.
honestly, totally within the realm of possibility on this show.
We're on a second island. No sleep till Brooklyn.
He may as well just throw a fucking smoke grenade and just like disappear into nowhere.
One other
so-
just quick little thing, because this scene ended the episode a little, whatever. Sawyer punches Ben. And we've seen Benry be a punching bag. Yeah. We've seen before that Sawyer can throw a punch. We've established, he broke Pickett's nose, and he was boxing in prison, and we've seen that just in this episode. We've seen Sawyer fight a lot. Ben gets hit, he's bleeding from the mouth, but he just kind of takes it. And I thought back to Ben's like abusive father and how we don't see him, granted he beat the crap out of Sawyer when he had a friction baton, but like Ben's probably in a lot of pain right now, but he doesn't show it. And I think it just speaks a lot to Ben's mental strength. And it's just, he's so creepy and so just, sends shivers up my spine where, I don't know. I love him as a villain.
Yeah, for sure.
There is a point too where you're you're often in like so much chronic pain that what is a punch to the face?
Right.
It's oh my God, new pain.
He's he's probably still, just based on the timeline of the show, he's probably still recovering from some of the injuries that he sustained while under lock and key under the survivors, watch. So yeah, he's probably still dealing with that huge arrow hole. Yeah, he's got a spinal tumor. Yeah, he's got he's got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, I was 100%. As soon as like I was assuming when it was like, who am I here to save? I was like, oh, the guy with the hair gel. Like
hair gel guy.
I was like, that's the guy with the tumors. Yeah. And it's just. What's a punch to the face when you have fucking tumors in your spine?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's probably like, man, my back feels better right now.
I want to punch these tumors out of my body.
Yeah, boy.
So that's it. That's it, baby.
Yeah. We get that last shot of Sawyer just kind of looking out over the thing, and bam, lost. Every man for himself.
Yeah. Did we like it? Was it good? Jack, what are your thoughts on Every Man for Himself?
I don't know. I liked it in the sense that there was plenty to be mad at and have emotions about and like get upset over. But as like a standalone episode, I did not enjoy it.
Sure.
Because there were too many. There's too much shit where I was like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the consequences of any of this. The choices that these characters are making are bad choices. I don't understand the context in it. Why is this guy making this fucking lightning rod and being so goddamn weird? Like,
I mean, we don't even understand that. So
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, I don't know who these people are. I don't understand what the stakes are going. Like, I just, and Sawyer's just like one of the last people I'd be genuinely interested watching.
sure.
So yeah, I did not.
Totally fair.
JP, what do you think? How did you like Every Man for Himself?
I did kind of like this one. I thought that some of the elements, obviously, like, all right, we're not gonna. I'm just gonna jettison Kate getting out of that cage. I'm just gonna jettison that from my decision making process here. I like the Jack and Juliet stuff. I think that Sawyer wasn't nearly as annoying as he's been in other situations. I mean, Kate's still pretty useless, but I'd put it just as a is fine. In terms of like season 3 stuff that we've seen, I've been far more annoyed by episodes than this one, so it was fine.
All right,
Adam,
that works. Yeah, kind of the same. Yeah, like we start out the episode with not getting a lot of context, so treating it as trying to get a standalone enjoyment out of it is gonna be tough sledding.
Right.
But I really did like the Jack and Juliet stuff. I did kind of like the sort of wondering what's happening on this second island. I wasn't too frustrated with not knowing what was going on with the separation from the other areas of the island. That we know the others are in control of, like the barracks and stuff like that. So yeah, there was some good stuff in it. Like a lot of other season 3 episodes, there's some good stuff in it, surrounded by kind of some trash. So I'd give it a B maybe. B minus.
Yeah.
Ish.
Okay. Cool. Well, then let's move into our end of episode segments here. We're going to start out with Lost MVPs. Who was the absolute winner of Every Man for Himself? Who's your favorite? Who did you want another 45 minutes of? Jack, who is your MVP?
I don't know. Come back to me. I gotta think about this.
Okay.
Because my gut, my initial reaction is truly no one.
Sure.
But
That's fair.
Let me think about this.
All right. JP, what do you think?
Man, this is it pains me to say this, but I'm gonna say Warden Harris.
Just because it's Bill Duke.
Yeah, well, that helps a lot. Listen, he's part of the prison industrial complex, and already I don't like him, but he actually followed through with the deal. You know what I mean? He could have let Sawyer divulge that information and then thrown him back in the cell to actually see somebody who like does stick to their guns. I mean, granted, yes, $10 million and a huge kudos are kind of going his way, or the way of the government. But he actually did follow through, and you know what? I do respect that from a guy who I expected nothing from.
Sure, that's fair. Warden Harris, that's not bad.
Yeah, Adam.
I would probably just give it to I was sort of ran into the same thing. Like I couldn't think of one in the moment, so I'm just kind of thinking now based on the conversation we had. I'd probably just go with Elizabeth Mitchell. Because I think she had a lot of good performance in her couple scenes. I just enjoyed watching her.
Yeah, so she's phenomenal. She has so much range.
Yep. So that's me, Elizabeth Mitchell.
She plays Juliet.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to give it to Juliet because the stuff that Juliet in the episode didn't necessarily do too much, but I liked watching Elizabeth Mitchell do it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Oh my goodness, Jack.
Okay, it's so hard. It's so hard. I want to do like a jokey one and a real one. Like Hurley's fruit salad looked fucking bomb.
Yeah.
It did look really good.
It looked really good, and like I loved like the container that he put it into.
Yeah,
I was
like kind of a fun
good job,
bowl.
sir.
Yeah.
Good job, sir. But like I would say the real MVP was Jack.
Okay.
I think he was like the legit MVP of like literally like having to be taken out of his little prison cell, do surgery on somebody who just dies, and he's just like, yeah, this shit happens. And him telling Juliet, being like, oh, do you want me to, like, it's like, no, I'm not making you feel better. Like,
Yeah,
why would I do
yeah.
that? There's no point in me doing that. I did think that I think that was a good. I really liked his
I mean,
whole
he
thing.
didn't do like anything annoying this episode.
Which is
his
nice.
decision making process and the way he acted was very like reasonable.
Yeah, no, they saved all of the dumb shit for Kate and Sawyer.
Yeah, well. So
All
on
of
the
it.
flip side of this MVP, we also have the Lost Forever. Jack, you're gonna have too many choices now. So who is the worst? Who sucks shit? Who is being jettisoned from one of these many islands?
You don't have to finish. Kate is fucking Kate. She climbed out of the cage and then went back in. I have no. I don't have enough. I don't have enough
mind
words.
blowing that is the solution that they came up with and wrote it into a script, and everybody said, "Yep, that's the direction we're going."
And just thinking that they ran out of ideas, and this is what, season 3, episode 4?
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
a whole rest of their fucking 3rd season,
Yeah.
plus 3 more seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fortunately, as somebody who's seen the entire show, I do think that the show starts to get much better after season 3. So we get through the rest of these season 3 episodes, and maybe we'll start to get into some real good shit.
Yeah.
JP, what do you think? Who's lost forever on your end?
Charlie, listen. If fucking Claire wants to talk to Desmond about potential roof repairs, she can make that decision on her own about her tent. Claire is not your property, and don't get like the whole, oh, we gotta get that guy a new button to push. Charlie, you were addicted to heroin like 3 days ago. Don't get too fucking judgy, my man. Shut the fuck up.
How dare you come for my man, Charlie?
Adam, who is your lost forever?
Fucking Paolo, what a useless fuck. Like, in every facet, like, he's a useless character. Like, Rodrigo Santoro is just like coasting because the writers aren't giving him anything to do.
Yeah,
like, he's just acting like a prick. Hitting fruit with the golf club. Like, yeah, okay, you're not wasting golf balls, but you're fucking up those clubs by not hitting golf balls with them.
Right.
Fuck, just fuck all the way off. Paolo.
Yeah.
That's it for me. That one's the simple one. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I hate you.
Right. Ugh.
All right, cool. Jack, do you want to plug anything now that we wrap it all up? You've already mentioned your socials at Jack Loves TV.
Yes.
On Twitter.
And that's it. That's it.
That's all right.
I got nothing else going on.
All right.
That's
Just
okay.
playing a lot of Lego Star Wars right now.
Well, that's good too.
And please watch our Flag Means Death.
Oh yeah.
Just please. I worked on it, and I would very much like people
Hell
to
yeah.
watch it and for them to renew a season.
They
Awesome.
should bring it back. It was the most popular streamed show in the country for 7 weeks in a row.
Yes, then they lost.
Only to be taken down by Strange New Worlds.
And then the following week they were back to being number 1.
Nice.
Right. That's buck wild. Absolutely wild.
If HBO doesn't renew it, that will be a very odd decision. So
Yeah.
so
Jack,
cool.
Yeah, thank you for joining, for being fantastic, as always.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, much like James Bond, Jack will return.
Yes.
And let's see, if you're looking to be lost with us next time, we're going to be watching season 3, episode 15, Left Behind, starring everybody's favorite, Kate. Jack, you want to come back for that one?
Season 3 Kate episode.
I mean,
Good
if you want me,
God.
if you want a 45-minute rant about how dumb she is, yeah, I'll come back.
Okay, we'll put that on our non-existent Patreon.
This episode happens in media res of this episode, and it's just her thought process about the ceiling of her cage.
Okay, but you are saying that as a joke. I'm in. If that's what the
If that's what
episode
it is.
shit, I'll come back for that. Just
that's
to be
amazing.
mad about it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, yeah, again, thank you, Jack, for taking the time. Thank you all out there for listening and hanging out with us here on Lost on Lost. I'm Adam.
I'm JP.
Do you have any idea what's going on this show?
Nope.
Me neither. Lost on Lost is produced and edited by me and JP.
We wish to acknowledge that we live, work, and produce our show on occupied land.
Burbank, California is located on the traditional tribal lands of the Tongva, Chumash, Kizh, and Fernandino Tataviam peoples.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin is located on the traditional tribal lands of the Peoria, Potawatomi, Miama, and Ho-Chunk peoples.
And Lost was produced in Hawaii on the lands of the Kanaka Maoli.
Visit native-land.ca to learn more about the land you live and work on.
You can engage with us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter at LostOnLost1.
You can also email us at wearelostonlost@gmail.com or support us with dollar monies at coffee.com/wearelostonlost.
Thanks to Lostpedia and its community of contributors, Danny Schmitz, Random.org, and as always, you the listeners for tuning in.
We're hosted at Podbean. You can hear us there or wherever you get your podcasts, except MySpace. We're not on MySpace.
Yet.